Good morning and welcome to the conference towards an European Food Safety Forum, shaping together the new collaborative platform. The Food Safety for EU project is an Horizon 2020 project that want to bring to a long-term cooperation among policymakers, researchers, industries and consumers in the food safety sector. In this scope, we have organized this first pre-forum that want to focus on the sustainable food, how to keep it safe. And during today, we will try to also arrive and to choose the focus for the 2022 pre-forum. But to introduce the event and the project, I leave immediately the floor to the coordinator of the Food Safety for EU project, the National Council of Research, CNR, to Dr. Logrieco, that is already here with us. Good morning, Dr. Logrieco.
Good morning, Chiara. Good morning. So, I'd like just to give all of you a great welcome to these important strategic events in food safety for Europe. So this is, I really very happy. I'm very happy about how is doing the project, and concerning particularly the constitution of this strong, very active network that is growing up in this project. So I'm very proud about the number of participants about this project, about of these different players of this network, and how they are interacting during the project. So this is I think this is really a great opportunity that we have to constitute this network in order to exchange knowledge, exchange idea, transfer our technology, our knowledge in real time and in real end users. So this is I believe that this is really important networking that is going in order also for the next proposal or next idea about of sustainable food. This is a key action, key words that we have to handle in the next future, sustainable food, and how the sustainable food can be safety for all consumer in European level. So I think this is very, very important, strategic, and this interaction with with different players in policymaker, research and industry, consumers, as well as with all safety organization or safety authority, is the key methods to go on these very important issues. So I'd like to wish all of you a great conference, a great meeting in order to promote this networking and also to exchange our knowledge and experience that is running in this project. Thank you very much, Chiara.
Logrieco, I would like to leave the floor to Dr. Lattanzio, that is also working in CNR and working in coordinating the project. Veronica.
Thank you, Chiara, and thank you, Dr. Logrieco, for... May I?
Yes. We can hear you very well.
Yes. Thank you, Chiara. So just a very warm welcome also to all of you from my side. It's already 1 year that the project Food Safety for You kicked off, and a lot of activities have already been done. So I invite you to visit our website to have a look on the progresses of the project. But let's do this tomorrow, because today is a great day for all of us, since, as Dr. Logrieco told you, our community platform is growing, is becoming more and more active. So today we are all together taking the first step in the co-creation of the European Food Safety Forum. That will be a new European institutional place for a long-term cooperation among stakeholders in the European food safety system. It will be a bridge between science, policy, and society. So the topic today is sustainable food, how to keep it safe. And if you are with us today, I'm sure that you are facing, like us, the challenge of transforming the food safety system towards increased sustainability. This challenge must also include a safety assessment of the new technologies and also fulfill citizen concerns and expectations, also in terms of transparency and trust. The FS4EU main ambition is therefore to support a safe transition towards sustainable food. The Pre-Forum today is organized in 3 sessions. We will have 2 keynote speakers from EFSA and GEIE that will set the scene, and we are sure that will inspire you for the incoming discussion. Then we selected some speakers that will pitch their position paper, publication, best practices, and they will elicit the following discussion. In the end, thanks to 2 moderators from our consortium, we will discuss all together about barriers and drivers for sustainable food. So we will ask your opinion, and please stay with us until the end, because at the end of this session, also taking into consideration the opinion that you will express, we will identify altogether the topic for the next Pre-Forum, which will be held next year. So stay with us until the end. I wish you to enjoy the workshop, and Chiara, the floor is back to you.
Thank you, Veronica. I have to say that will be 2 hours really intensive. So as Veronica said, please follow us until the end. The interactive discussion will be moderated through the Mentimeter, so please use or your laptop, your computer, or even your mobile. So you have just to go to menti.com and use the code that you have here below in the screen. And so I would like to leave immediately the floor to the first keynote speech to EFSA, to Dr. Bronzwaer. I hope that my pronunciation was not too terrible. Thank you.
It's not an easy pronunciation.
So I leave you the floor. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chiara. Thank you, organizers, for having us. I'm Stef Bronzwaer from the European Food Safety Authority, EFSA, in Parma. Pleasure to be here with you today, especially also on addressing such an important topic. So compliments also for the organizers of choosing such a challenging title of Sustainable Food, How to Keep It Safe. Thank you for already putting this screen on slide, so then I'll go ahead and simply ask for the next slide. Thank you. So maybe talking about sustainable food, one cannot start without remembering the Sustainable Development Goals that, as you know, were launched by the UN in 2015, and which are very much in the spotlight, and which are setting very serious targets for 2030. And 2030, as we often hear now, is only 9 harvests away. So it actually is getting very close. And I believe, and there's been several reports, there's quite some way to go still on this. The Commission actually has taken this up very seriously by adopting, with the new Commission now in place since 2 years, the European Green Deal. And in that European Green Deal, there's a great number of very interesting policy initiatives that also touch upon EFSA very much, and also on the FS4EU, and also on today's discussion. For example, on the top right from the Green Deal, you see the zero pollution ambition for a toxic-free environment, on producing and administering safely the many chemicals that we deal with in our society. The biodiversity strategy, also adopted last year, on preserving and restoring ecosystems and biodiversity, which is a big challenge, obviously, and is much under threat, also with the infamous climate change, testing this very seriously. And then there's the farm to fork strategy, which is very close, obviously, as you will understand, to EFSA's remit, And that actually sets quite a number of challenging targets. For example, in the Commission in the Farm to Fork strategy advocates and actually puts it really on the agenda to reduce the use of pesticides by 50%. And that's a very challenging, very ambitious goal. Again, thinking of the 9 harvests of time that we only have, 2030. If you look into more detail, actually, you will see that there's 2 targets under this overall 50% reduction. And the first target is actually to reduce by 50% the use and the risk of chemical pesticides by 2030. The second one is to reduce the use of 50% by half of the more hazardous pesticides by 2030. And this will be measured, is already being measured. The first target by measuring the quantities of the active substances used in the pesticides, which are placed now on the market or sold in the member states, and also to assess the hazard properties of these active substances. There is also a harmonized risk indicator already available to measure this, which is actually stemming from the Sustainable Use of Pesticide Directive. Interestingly, the non-chemical pesticides are excluded from this, which hopefully brings a push also for alternative pesticides. And that actually is my plea for today, which is very welcome, obviously, to look for alternatives to pesticides, in biological pesticides. But my point of today would be that we need to know what we do before we do it. And we'll come back to that. The second target is to reduce the use of cutting by half, basically, the hazardous pesticides. And also this will be measured, and there's also a kind of definition, the criteria on what defines a hazardous pesticides, which is taken from the cutoff criteria which are set in a regulation on active substances. An important instrument to work on this is also on the many open questions that we need to deal with, and the innovation that we need. Will be Horizon Europe, which you know is the follow-up of the H2020. H2020 is actually at the base of the funding of FS4EU. Many of us are familiar with that. Horizon Europe is now the follow-up program which started this year and will run for the next 7 years. Almost 100 billion euro available over the 7-year period for serious impetus on necessary research and innovation. Next slide. Here, one of the novel instruments, financial instruments under the Horizon Europe are the partnerships, the so-called European partnerships, of which there are 49 candidate partnerships, which are now actually being developed and being fleshed out on what they will do. And on this slide, I listed the 7 ones that are closely to EFSA's remit, which I think also are relevant for today's discussion. I won't go through them all, but you will see the chemical risk assessment one, the One Health AMR one, the pandemic preparedness one, which will be financed or are under cluster 1, the health cluster. In our cluster, so to speak, cluster 6 on food, bioeconomy and agriculture, there's 3 important ones: agriculture of data, animal health and welfare, the safe and sustainable food systems. And then there's a separate one, which is the IET, the Knowledge and Information Communities, which also has a program on food. Next slide. I would briefly draw your attention also to specifically to one of these, namely the Safe and Sustainable Food Systems Partnership that is now under preparation, is due to kick off in 2023-24. Which will look in not only the way that we produce food, but also how we consume it and how the risks related to it. This, I believe, will be a very important partnership for the years to come, also for FS4EU's work and other similar projects like the Fit for Food 2030 and many other similar projects that have developed over the past years, which are actually also upcoming. And in fact, I'd like to remember that there's a lot of interesting open calls on the Horizon Europe now for the next deadline, the 15th of February. For example, one is on alternatives to chemical pesticides, and there's plenty of very interesting calls. So if you're not familiar yet with those, I invite you to look at them, which in fact will address some of the open questions that we need to deal for the necessary innovation. Next slide. On this slide, I would like to make strongly the case, if I can, that indeed EFSA, the European Food Safety Authority, actually is a One Health agency. And I would argue this because, in fact, if you look at our mission and if you understand how we were born, in a way we were born out of sin after the dioxin and especially after the mad cows disease debacle in the 90s, which actually brought us a very strong lesson, namely that if you do something like reintroducing waste into the feed chain, this may actually have very serious and long-lasting consequences on other sectors, in our case, the public health sector. And that we've seen with the BSE crisis in the 90s that still carries on today. And that actually should be a very strong lesson also when we think about developing sustainable food systems. Again, we need to carefully think of the necessary innovation to come to the sustainability, but we certainly need to understand before we introduce this innovation also what is the impacts. We cannot know that before we introduce it, for sure to monitor it while we introduce it, because we want to avoid to become a witness like we were with the BSE and an observer of the negative consequences after the innovation has been introduced. Going back to the EFSA mission, in fact, in our mission statement, actually, it says that the authority, the EFSA, shall contribute to a high level of protection of human health, life and health, public health, and in this respect, take account of animal health and welfare, plant health, and the environment. And this actually is one of the best definitions, so to speak, of the One Health approach. So indeed, EFSA was established, not surprisingly, after its origin, as a One Health agency. On this slide, I wanted to remind me and you of the fact that EFSA not only generates knowledge, it also generates an overview of knowledge gaps. Because in fact, in delivering our scientific opinions for the policymakers, so putting together our scientific advice, we almost inevitably come across knowledge gaps. So we don't have all the data needed. We hardly have ever all the knowledge to come with an absolute certainty on the advice that we provide. And in fact, in our opinions, you will see also typically the level of uncertainty indicated, because almost always there is some knowledge gaps. So what we do actually with these knowledge gaps is to bring them together in a systematic manner, also to inform the research agendas. Not only the research agenda of Horizon Europe, but also the research agendas of the member states, because we closely, obviously, work together with the member state, the national food agencies. Actually, EFSA, and I'd like to say that EFSA actually is by default a networking organization, working very closely with scientific networks, with scientific experts, with the national food agencies that all come from the member states. On this slide, I wanted to draw your attention to the most important research recommendation that EFSA has done now 2 years ago, namely that we should work for safe food systems. So moving towards alternative and sustainable production systems, we need to improve our food safety further. And this goes with what I said earlier. So we need to understand what may be risks to food safety and to anticipate those. This is even more important in our world that is changing. So it's not only a climate change, it's also changes in environment. There, for example, circularity comes in. On this slide, you see I chose the example of microplastics, nanoplastics, which since long now actually are considered also as an environmental concern with the soup in the oceans. But actually it's relatively recent that we realized that this, obviously, not surprisingly, comes back to us. Actually, it comes back to our plate. It comes back through the fish on our plate. So we now start realizing that actually it also may, for us, for our human health, impose a risk. We're not clear yet on if it actually brings risk and how big these risks are. That is a subject of study at the moment, in fact, through a number of interesting studies ongoing. Also, WHO is working on this. The other aspect, another example, and I know that the next speaker actually will also bring a number of very good examples, Sandra Coecke from JRC. One example I'd like to bring still is urban agriculture. Again, smart idea, obviously, to pick up on urban farming, and there's very innovative and novel approaches that we certainly welcome also as EFSA. But again, the same principle, because if you think that urban areas are those areas where lead and mercury contents are higher, it is to be expected if we produce crops in those areas that actually the metal contamination may be higher and above the limits that we've set ourselves. So again, we need to know what we do before we do it. Then the last example I would bring is the reusage of wastewater, where also recently actually EFSA produced an opinion on the role of the environment in the emergence and spread of antimicrobial resistance through the food chain. And there it is documented that in fact different types of water, including surface water, wastewater, are recognized as an important source of AMR and the spread of the transfer of resistance mechanisms through wastewater. So that is an important other example that we need to consider our food safety implications also on good practices to save water. So I think that was my last slide. The last slide actually is a reminder to invite you to keep an eye on the ONE conference, which is organized by EFSA in June, upcoming June, and which will address these topics of One Health in far greater detail. So keep your eyes on this interesting upcoming conference. Thank you. With that, flow back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Bronzwaer. I would like just to remind to all the people attending the conference that they can add questions for all the speakers through the Mentimeter. So you can use the code that you see here below. And so thank you again for this presentation. It was really interesting, and I do really hope to be in Brussels and to see you physically in person after so many months. Always see each other online. So I would like to leave the floor now to the next speaker, to Dr. Coecke from EU Netval coordination team from the JRC. Okay. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I assume that also, as for Stef, the slides will be shown by you. That would be greatly appreciated. And otherwise, I try to share myself. No. Okay. So while waiting on the slides, thank you so much. That makes it much easier. So thanks, first of all, for inviting me to talk side by side with Stef Bronzwaer in this very exciting food safety forum, aiming indeed to bridge many contacts amongst many stakeholders. So my talk will be about how together, because we are here today with many actors together, how we can together accelerate sustainable food needs by embracing research and innovation. So by embracing next generation non-animal food safety testing methods. And I will go to the next slide. Yeah, so the idea is obviously we have a global call we want obviously to accelerate to gather sustainable food needs, but we also want to eradicate hunger. So that means that we need to feed 10 billion persons by 2015. Now, when thinking about sustainability and food needs, we definitely, as you can see on this inverted pyramid, we need some trade-offs between food sustainability, food security, and food safety. And for instance, we need to make better use of food already produced. So the pyramid which I'm showing is an example, one of the examples of an hierarchy of strategies for reducing food losses, for instance, by source reduction, reusing or reprocessing surplus food, recycling food as feed for animals, recover the energy as biofuels, nutrients as compost or raw materials for industry, while obviously also as last resort, we might consider recovering the energy by incineration or dumping. So we have lots of things to think about when we want to balance. Next slide, please. So in this regard of these trade-offs we all together have to think on, we need for sure to think about some of the past lessons learned from the use, for instance, of antimicrobials to intensify food production and to contain obviously microorganisms, and as Stef has been presenting, also the outbreak of BSE in terms of circular food production has learned some important lessons for the future. Next slide. So when we look what we are asked to do in terms of our 2030 targets for sustainable food production, our President Ursula von der Leyen, together with all the actors also in the Commission and our agencies, have set very clear targets. Reduction of pesticides by 50%. We have to avoid nutrient losses. We also have to think about the antimicrobials to reduce them based on the information also just heard by Stef. And we need also to increase organic farming. So when we think about circular food production systems, we need obviously to control pathogens by other means, and as what we have done in the past, since it is very critical to avoid that cycles of nutrients become cycles of pathogens and hazard. So we have to think indeed about a new generation of antimicrobials, and by the end of this talk I will give some ideas on what are some possibilities and things that have been used already. I go a little bit into the toxicology of essential oils. But when we think about sustainable food, the solutions to sustainability and food security should integrate from the beginning feed and food safety. So what are the research and innovation tools we have now at hand by long, almost 3 decennia of investment in new approach methods and models for dealing with food safety issues, including toxicology? Next slide. So a lot of the work that we are doing at the GRC and also at EFSA is often obviously driven by our Director General of Food Safety, and Stef has been introducing already the One Health concept, which is obviously we have to think about all these aspects in order to get sustainable food systems, but also safe food on our plates. Next slide. So we at the GRC, obviously we're trying, and you can see that many of our directorates are working on this, and we're working on food safety, food security, and food sustainability and feed safety. So this is obviously showing that investments are in different aspects, and the fact that all our directorates are involved means that we have to think about economical aspects, sustainability aspects, safety aspects across all our directorates and with many actors. Next slide. Obviously, we are not doing that on our own. And when we only focus on food and feed safety, we see that we have several collaborations on the topic. And obviously, EFSA is collaborating already with the GRC and vice versa for many years. But you see also on the slide other actors and many more. So this is really something we are thinking on together now for a better future and a better sustainable food systems business. Next slide. So when we think about sustainable food needs and food safety, when we are in the European Commission, it is obviously a cross-cutting area where we have many EU policy. So we have our general food law and the related risk-based food safety regulatory frameworks, the EU Green Deal just mentioned, Farm to Fork strategy, the biodiversity strategy, the strategy for sustainable chemicals, the common agriculture policy, the EU consumer policy, environment policy, and the global food security. So lots of things. So what are now, based on some analysis also of this network, key drivers that impact food safety? Climate change, changes in food and farming systems, which we heard about, rapid technological advancements and emerging technologies, assessment of new technologies, which we will need. And we learned a lot during the recent COVID pandemic about pathogens. So that means that after lots of investment, the time is now to integrate and improve hazard and risk assessment methodology by embracing alternatives, the so-called new approach methods. And these new approach methods are important and essential in the process of risk assessment and risk evaluation, especially in the processes surrounding the new generation of GMO foods, new antimicrobials, and new types of feeds and food exponentially introduced in the food supply chain. But the good news is that the way we are working in the EU, when you look at problems with regard to safety of food, we're doing extremely well by the action of many actors together. So, but we have to continue to do so in the future, and we have some new challenges to tackle, and we have to do some good foresight. So next slide. So when we think about food safety testing needs and new approach methods, when you look at the landscape of the sectors that are involved, we're talking about many when we think about food and feed safety. So we're thinking about, new approach methods for feed additives, flavoring substances, food additives, food contact materials, food enzyme, GMOs, the health claims, infant follow-on formula, novel foods, and pesticides. So the type of new approach methods need obviously to give trust to our receiving authorities that these are good methods. They're based on innovation. And that means that we need to get methods that are reliable and relevant for the type of challenges that we need now in terms of safety evaluation. Next slide. So I want to share with this slide an aspect that is very close to my heart. I'm a toxicologist for the last 30 years. And why we try to do toxicology and how we did toxicology, obviously we used the test systems that were available. So 3 decennia ago, we were using animal studies to check if external compounds, chemicals, and any xenobiotics of any kind had any adverse effects on the human population. Now, over the years, we have seen by many case studies, also from pharmaceutical industry, that we need to do better, because we are all different individuals and we might react different, for instance, to pharmaceuticals, to vaccines, to chemicals exposed. So all these new approach methods offer possibilities to go to a more personalized medicine, but also a personalized toxicology. And basically, me and my friend Silvia, we both were exposed to 2 drugs. And these drugs, although a lot of preclinical studies have been done, not for all people give the same effects. So we have to think using these new methodologies to do better in size and prediction of risk and toxicity of compounds of various kinds. So we learned a lot. Next slide. So all this knowledge, we can use also when we are thinking of doing better also in terms of food safety. We have now the luxury to be able to use mathematical models, the so-called physiological-based kinetic models, to better understand what a new generation of antimicrobials do on the body, and also what new chemical entities might be less harmful for humans and the environment and all the species than those that were on the market in the past. So basically, what we want to do in toxicology is understand the dynamics and the kinetics. So what chemicals, for instance, pesticides or micro or nanoplastics, pathogens, what do they do to the human body or any other species in the environment, and the kinetics, what does the human body do to the chemicals, the macro and nanoplastics, and the pathogens that enter in our body. So we have really extremely good tools to deal with these types of questions, and these are also the ones that now with the revision of several pieces of legislation will enter into the playground. Next slide. So we need obviously new frameworks, and we are talking here now with many actors in the EU, but this is a global business. So together with colleagues in the United States and other parts of the globe, we're trying really to come up with really easy risk assessment frameworks for better do chemical risk assessment using all these new mathematical models and cell and tissue-based toxicological models. So things are of exposure to many dietary risks related aspects of pesticides. We are dealing now with mixtures, and we have now many new approach methods developed that can deal with aspects, for instance, as compounds that interfere with our endocrine systems, estrogen, androgen, thyroid, and steroidogenesis. Next slide. We can use the same models that we have been developing for chemicals also to deal with the pathogens and the new generation of pathogens that we're having now identified. Obviously, we have been showing that using these new approach methods, we also can deal with COVID-19 understand the kinetics and dynamics. Next slide. And to end, it was already mentioned, we have a series of new antimicrobials. Very popular now are the essential oils. And we know a lot about these essential oils using all these new approach methods. Next slide. So when we have this new generation of, for instance, feed additives, we have a very good grip together with global scientists, how we can use them and what are the level and the doses we can use safely to get safe food on our plates. So next slide. I think I'm very happy by the invitation of the team here, because I think by this type of stakeholder meetings, by bringing together lots of actors, policymakers, national authorities, risk managers, research, industry, consumer society, and all these stakeholders, what is being done in this project, I think definitely together we can get a better cross-sectoral approach for global uptake of this new generation of methods in food safety testing. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to answer any questions. and to continue the collaboration over the next years of the project.
Thank you very much, Dr. Coecke. Yes, I think it's really important, the collaboration with all the stakeholders and the actors. And I want also to underline that in order to communicate all the problems related to food safety to the consumers, Food Safety for EU has started a communication on social media. So please follow us on all the social media, because we started this campaign on how to cook safely the foods during the winter holidays. So stay tuned, as we say usually. So thank you very much again. And we go now to the next session with the pitches. As the different participants already know, we will go through them in alphabetical order. So we will start immediately with Dr. Solveig. Is he? No, he's not here. So maybe can we start with Dr. Notarfonso from Federalimentare. And so, Maurizio, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Good morning, everybody.
So long time. Nice to see you. So I leave you the floor. I remind you that you have 3 minutes, so I will check. And do you have the presentation?
Yes, I have. Hello. Thank you very much for the invitation to the organizers. Nice to see you. Also to you, Chiara. I am sharing the screen. I don't know if you see.
Not very well. I don't know what is happening.
Me too.
Let's try again.
Okay. Now it fits better.
Perfect. Go ahead. So it's
3 minutes
48.
for now. My pitch this morning is about one of our European projects where we were partner of. It's Seafood Tomorrow, Horizon 2020 project. So today we are discussing about food safety. So I thought it was very interesting to share with you and with all the actors and stakeholders the last results. We were partner as Federalimentare, being part of the European network of SPES, the EEIG spread European safety and sustainability. So the context of our project, where we were collaborating for 4 years, the seafood sector, one of the most important commodity consumed in Europe, because of its high quality, the contribution to a very balanced and healthy, safe food diet, a lot of variability in the production of seafood species and consumption in Europe, and also way of consumption. Most consumers, especially children, pregnant women, older people, these were the 3 target groups mainly focused for the innovation, do not meet all the dietary recommendation of eating at least 2 portions of fish per week. So this sector is still complex and conservative, so the attitudes towards innovation is still low. A big role played by the large retailers and chains, and also the transition from the seafood production to the farmed species, and also the monitoring, permanent monitoring to anticipate and for a predictive hazard outbreaks. So it's a very important sector also for today's discussion. Which are our results? I would like to invite you to download and see into our website. Safety. So safety is very important for the seafood sector to ensure availability of safer seafood in the market. Also from an industrial growth and competitiveness for the producers. We have tested and validated a series of methods to reduce or remove at all contaminants in their production and ready-to-eat products. We have validated also via demonstration of these new technologies, and these are the most important outputs we have validated, and really nice to get much more details on our website. Paralytic shellfish poisoning detoxification process for especially for mussels, clams, and scallops. Improved norovirus removal from Pacific oysters during the depuration process. The enzymatic biosensor for fast screening of xenobiotics in seafood. Bacteriophage biocontrol against pathogenic bacteria in seafood. A fast screening method for the detection of tetrodotoxin in seafood, and the optical biochip for single and multiplex detection of regulated marine toxin in seafood. So this is in very short details for to raise on the floor for the today discussion. Please visit and download these outputs on seafoodtomorrow.eu in Twitter and in LinkedIn professional community. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Maurizio. The contact details are in your presentation. So thank you. I will pass immediately the floor to the next presentation to Ms. Solveig from Nofima. But please present yourself also, because maybe I didn't pronounce your surname very well. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So please present yourself, and then I will start the 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I'm Solveig Langsrud from Nofima, and I will tell you about a project that we're running. SafeConsume, that is a transdisciplinary approach to mitigate food risks, and we are working at the consumer part of the chain. This is a quite large project funded by Horizon 2020, coordinated from Norway. We have 32 partners, both from science but also industry, such as large partners such as IKEA and Unilever, government, and different organizations. And we're finished next year, so we have a lot of results now, and I will go very briefly through our project and how we are working. Because we are working with a consumer behavior that we cannot do anything about with regulation. So we started with combining methodology from microbiology and sociology, because we're going to look at consumers and find consumer practices that may be risky. We also interviewed students and teachers, and we had some laboratory studies to see what happens with pathogens when people treat food as they do in reality. So that's science. Maybe more challenging is turning this science into innovations and interventions. We were going to produce educational materials, policy models, communication strategies, and new tools and products for consumers. And what we did that was quite successful was to use designers to help us with this project and design-driven innovation. And everyone in the consortium took part of generating ideas and solutions to mitigate risks at the consumer stage. So I will show you just 2 examples. One is that we now have ready e-learning materials in 6 languages. You can find them at the eBug site with student resources, teacher guides, cards, cooking book, and it's openly available for everyone. We also developed a food safety game. You can just find it at Apple Store and Google Play and test if your food hygiene is good at the kitchen. It's now in an English version, but coming soon also in 8 other languages. So what about sustainability in SafeConsume? We are working to keep food safe, but use sustainable solutions. And in some cases, this is in accordance, for example, when we're working with cooling for safer food and also less food waste, or we're trying to learn people the difference between hygienically clean and visually clean. We also look at those who try to live sustainable, for example, using backyard eggs. So we make recipes, for example, how to get a safe cooked egg with running yolk. So next step, when this project is ready, could maybe to see look at sustainable food practices while keeping food safe. The other way around, that is kind of the topic today. Same approach, but maybe some other solutions. So thank you very much.
Sorry, I was speaking with the microphone.
Yes.
Sorry. So thank you very much. So we will then distribute the PowerPoints, so with your contact, and you will be contacted for any additional information for sure. So I have now to run and leave the floor to the next pitch. So I would like to introduce Mr. Meca from University of Valencia. Is not here?
Hello, good morning. Could you hear me?
Yes, wonderful, perfect. So just a brief introduction from you, and then if you can start your presentation, I will start also to...
Just a moment, I want to share my screen. Just
Absolutely. Let's see if works.
I don't know what's happened. Just...
Ecco, wonderful. Yes, we can see your screen. You have to put, yes, the presentation mode.
Yes, okay.
And so, okay, I leave you the floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Giuseppe Meca. I'm from University of Valencia. I'm going to explain some topic related with the project in which I'm involved with. It's coordinated by University of Catania. The name is BiOrangePack. The project is based on all the food chain related to the citrus fruit. You know, the citrus fruit is a really important fruit of the Mediterranean area. And the production of some bioproducts produce a lot of the waste products like peels of tangerine, lemon, and oranges, and that could be recovered in order to obtain the bioproducts. And the project are involved with 14 partners of many Mediterranean countries, from Spain, France, Algeria, Tunisia, Italy, and Turkey. Then they're involved with the University Technological Center, some sponsors company, and also research centers. The main objective of the project is based on all the food chain related to the seed fruit, intended to improve the efficiency, sustainability, and competitiveness of these kinds of products. In particular, we are going to develop strategy to reduce the losses caused by pathogens in pre and post harvest. We are going to improve the quality standard of the fresh fruits. We are going to develop some bioactive ingredient that could be applied on the fruits on field and also during the post-harvest in order to improve the shelf life of this product. And we are also working on the smart technology in order to reduce the shipping times of this product around all the world. And we are also studying the possibility to minimize the waste, in particular the peels or the lemon, tangerine, and the oranges, in order to produce bioproduct that could also be applied for the production, for example, of the functional food or nutraceutical food. And the project is based in 5 different work packages. In particular, the work package 1 is based on the improvement of the new strategies based on molecular and chromatographical model in order to detect the fungal pathogen in fruit during pre-harvest and post-harvest, and also the mycotoxin and the fungal metabolite produced by these fungal pathogens on products. The work package 2 is based on the development of new different ingredients based on the fermentation processes of the waste product of citrus fruit, in particular the peels, that fermented by the lactic acid bacteria isolated from that waste could be used like a bioactive ingredient in order to prevent then the spoilage of the fungal pathogens in field context and also during the post-harvest. Actually, we developed an ingredient that could be used like a biopesticide that could be applied on field, and we are also developing a new biocoating that could be applied on the fruit during the post-harvest in order to reduce the spoilage of the Penicillium strain responsible for the main important losses of this product. Then we have the work package 3 that is based in the new logistic approach in order to improve the logistic of this product. This is based on the improvement and implement of the smart technologies. And finally, we have the work package 5, based in the dissemination, communication, exploitation, and finally, the work package 5 based on the project management. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Just one question from my side: when we'll close the project and when you will have the main results? Because it for me was not clear.
The project, we are actually in the first year of the project. It's a project of 3 years. We are going to finish in 2 years. Actually, we are completing the activity related to the first year of the project.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I have to leave the floor immediately to the next speaker, to Mr. Presser from Premotec. Thank you very much. I leave you. Would you like to share the presentation so to see if everything is working?
I have it shared. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. So I leave you the floor.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So my name is Karl Presser. I'm from Premotec, based in Switzerland, and my background is computer science. And yeah, we're a partner of the FS4EU project, and of course, we're responsible for the electronic part of the platform to build. And so one of the tools I would like to present you is the Expert Finder app. Basically, following 3 questions. What is the Expert Finder app? So very simple. Think about it's a database with experts. So you have a search function, and then you're getting a results with different experts in the area of food safety. And so if you're looking for an expert, basically you can find it. So it should be an open access tool, a very user-friendly and very simple and nice design. And it's one of the apps in this bigger electronic platform of the Food Safety4EU platform. The next question is, how does this Expert Finder work? So it should be very simple for everybody to use. So we have this search function in here. So you can search like in Google for a keyword. It can be mycotoxin or a person, John Doe. But we also categorize the experts according to different topics. So we call this the topics of the expert. So we have different categories there. With this list of categories is based on the EFSA topics, but also in work package 4 we have there from the EFSA lab some categories and topics, and of course from the One Health EU joint program. Another search function or another categorization we wanted to group the experts in food groups, and so we took there the food categories from ANSES. There were several options, but at the end we said, okay, let's go with the ANSES one. And finally, of course, chemical substances, that we wanted to group the expert in chemical substances, and this is based on the EFSA SSD catalog for the parameters. So these are all the chemical substances there. If you then searching for an expert in a certain area or for a certain substance parameter, you're getting the results. You can click on the results and you see then the more details about this person. So all the expertise area, the name, the organization she's affiliated or he's affiliated to, the country, and you see also some more background about the experience, the education, project or research done, publication and so on, so that you're getting more information. Of course, you can contact this person then by email, or we're also linked with the LinkedIn platform. Finally, also, so the searching for experts should be open, accessible for everybody. So if you have, if you need to design or set up a new panel, that you can find your expert. So the finding for expert is without registration, so it should be possible for everybody. While if you want to register as an expert in the system, we need a login, of course. We need to know who you are, and that you also later can modify your information there. So that's needed. The last question, why we need an expert finder, is also a very good question, right? Because there are already some of them. One reason of that is that the community in food safety is quite dynamic, right? There are coming new professors coming, some professors get retired, new projects, people getting more knowledge, and so it's a coming and going, and so this there needs to be kind of a database where you have all this information together and see kind of the latest information. Also, changing topics. We see also the EFSA topics are changing with the time, of course, and this is also keeping track is the challenge there. And if we have one place to monitor, that's quite nice. One feedback that we got often and we're considering is that we align, because EFSA has an expert database, of course, and then the European Commission in the EU project, you can also register there as an expert and reviewing then project proposals, so that we're aligning also with these databases, but we're aware that these databases are for certain different purposes, slightly certain different purposes, and so we have to check that we align with them and not having multiple databases in parallel. This expert finder is also a part of this wider platform of the Food Safety EU platform, and so it's just one of the tools supporting electronic tools for the whole platform. And then maybe the one last reason is that also this such a database brings transparency. It shows the community, makes it visible, and shows different persons. And also, of course, we follow up then with more. And then finally, the Open Science Cloud, or the European Open Science Community, is also driving a direction, of course, of open data, open information, also about expert. And with this, I would like to...
Thank you. Thank you really much. So I have to leave the floor immediately to Dr. Ricci from the Politecnico of Torino.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes. Try also to share your presentation so I can leave you immediately the floor.
Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the work from our research group. And this work is based on microwave sensing for food contamination monitoring.
We cannot see yet your presentation.
Oh, sorry.
It's still loading. I see loading. I don't know.
Okay, just wait for it or try to re-upload it.
If you want, we have your presentation and we can try to
yes,
share.
Okay.
Okay, let's try. Okay, we have. So
okay,
let's go.
You can move to the next slide, please. Yeah, I'm presenting our work on microwave sensing for food contamination monitoring. Next slide, please. Okay, so the problem we aim to tackle is the physical contamination in food industries, since as many partners of us told us that it's still an open issue. The problem is caused by some intrinsic lacks in existing devices, such as metal detectors or X-rays, for which their detection principle have a limitation. In fact, it is based on materials density, and that is why the low-density materials widely used in, for example, in packaging, may result invisible to the devices. What we propose is a novel detection principle based no more on materials density, but on the dielectric contrast between the potential intrusion and the surrounding medium, and this happens at microwave frequency, so between 2 or 11, 12 gigahertz. The advantages of this approach is that we are not using ionizing radiation, and still we're using low power emissions, not altering the food quality, since their power is comparable to the one used in our smartphone, for example. Moreover, our technology is adaptive to existing production facilities, so we're adapting to the existing production lines without asking for any modification. And we're able to do real-time processing, so there's no need to stop or slow the food production chain. Next slide, please. Okay, so we built up a prototype which has been validated in a relevant industrial environment, and it has been tested with the millimetric size contaminant that you can see in the picture on the bottom left. In particular, we focused on the materials that are hard to see by other devices, as plastic, glass, or wood, and ones that also can be potentially harmful if accidentally ingested, in particular glass, that is true for that. The approach for discerning the clean and contaminated product is based on a neural network. In particular, it's a pattern recognition neural network, binary classifying the tested food as clean or contaminated. And its classification time is real time, so compliant with actual production speed for this kind of products. We have a patenting process still ongoing. And again, we are able to adapt to any existing production line by building up an antennas architecture tailored to the product to inspect, thanks to 3D printing supports for the antennas, holding them and covering in the best possible way the object to analyze. And next slide, please. And I'm done. I want just to thank you, everyone, for giving me this possibility. These are the contacts of our research group, and feel free to contact us for any curiosity. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Ricci. And now I would like to introduce the last speaker of this session, Dr. Suman from Barilla.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Do you prefer to share your presentation?
Yes, I'll try to share my screen.
Okay.
Maybe you should see it. I hope in a second. Can you see it?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Great.
Good. Okay. So thanks for this occasion to illustrate to you in a very quick way a progress about the sustainability of farming from Barilla, which is a stable activity that started more than 10 years ago in terms of beyond the gating and value chain actions. The vision of the company is generally defined as good for you, good for the planet, which means that Barilla is trying to act with different projects to improve raw material sustainability performances and have a strict contact with the different upstream value chain actors. So we started in 2008 with a first environmental product declaration for pasta, and then following other products also on the bakery sides with the core, let's say, attention about the cereals. And in this sense, there are different sustainability projects that are related to the removal of palm oil, to the reduction of CO2 or water use in the production, or the complete recyclability of our packaging, for instance. But staying directly on the cereals, and in particular on the durum wheat, the project of sustainable farming is dedicated to a strategic use of the land and the crop rotation and commercial and technical agreements with the farmers. And two main results has been attained in the last years. One is an handbook for the sustainable cultivation of the durum wheat with high quality, and a decision supporting system on a web platform which is called granoduro.net. And as you can see from the graph here below, in the last 7-8 years, we were growing progressively. We have now more than 5,000 farmers which are included in this project program, and more than now 400,000 tons of durum wheat produced with these tools. This is an example of the web platform connected with the decision supporting system that permit to have a usable direction data from the field information, can be consulted and can record all the crop operation, and consultation could be related to meteorological data or phenological model, indication of the fungal disease state, and some suggestions and advices in real time for the fertilization to the farmers. So the results that we can obtain with this combined strategy with the decision supporting system and the handbook permitted to have a low, let's say, impact in terms of environmental effects, with a contemporaneous good economical advantages for the farmers at the same time. And also, as you can see here on the left, we have the possibility with the new sustainable supply chain to increase the quality of the durum wheat itself, in this case with the protein content, and at the same time there could be, with the right rotation and the implementation of a specific suggestion, to have the reduction of greenhouse gases emission and the reduction of the main mycotoxins that affect the cereal chain, in this case the durum wheat, which is deoxynivalenol, which index risk can be reduced during the progressive introduction of this measurement and these preventive actions. So with this, I would like to thank all of you, and you have here in the final slide some kind of links to the different publication and websites that can describe more in details what I showed in 3 minutes today. Thanks again.
Thanks to you, Dr. Suman. So we close now this session and we move immediately, because we have some little delay, to the next session. I'm sure that all these pitches has created the necessary inspiration to now start the discussion and the interaction in order to create some new content for the future discussions. So now I ask to our colleague from ILSI and also ASAE, to Vera and Melo, Philippe and Erin.
Hello, good morning.
I read the surnames, sorry. To start this interactive session. So I leave you the floor.
Okay, very well. Erin, I don't know if you allowed me to start. Yes, please. Just to thank you, first of all, the coordination of the project, namely we are to the Veronica Lattanzio and all the team. And it's a pleasure to be here with Erin. And our mission is to increase the discussion, interactive discussion about the sustainable food, how keep it safe, and to engage all the participants with the Mentimeter that we already share the code 63223865852, sorry. And we would like to base the discussion on the philosophy of about the keynote speakers, what they mentioned about Stef Bronzwaer from EFSA, that talk about as well as Mrs. Coecke, Sandra Coecke, with science, policy, sustainability, and all the 6 speakers with that present ideas in the remit of the food safety, that we would like to have your opinion. So we would like to base the discussion on the 4 betters: the better production, the better nutrition, the better environment, to have better life all together. So I will start and I pass to Erin to know a little bit more who are the target audience with us to better fit our discussion and to allow conduct this interactive conversation with all of you. Erin, please.
Yes, thank you, Philippia. So this is Erin. I'm Communication Manager at IRC Europe at the International Life Science Institute, the European branch. So indeed, thank you to the consortium. So the objective of this discussion is to understand what are the key topics for the audience that we will like to address in the next Pre-Forum next year. So to do that, you need to use the Mentimeter, as Philippa said. So please go and use the code that you can see in the screen to vote on the different topics and to participate in the different votation. So please, for example, tell us who you are and what is the field of expertise that you are coming from.
Yes, this is an interactive scenario. And, well, okay, we already have replying. Great. We have people from different countries, from all the Europe, Austria, Portugal, Germany, Romania, Netherlands, Belgium, Albania, great, Switzerland, Tunisia, outside of Europe. Very well.
That's not, we are not surprised because we were seeing that we were more than 100 people joining this event today. So we are not surprised that we are coming all around from Europe.
Yes, but Erin, we must be more efficient because with 100 people, more than 100 people assisting, we just have 31 voters. So please, come on.
If you haven't done so, please enter the code in the menti.com. So it's MENTY.com, and then you can include the code that you can see the screen. And please vote and tell us where you're coming from.
Okay, we have a very good mark from. It's very well balanced. From Japan also. Wow, Poland, Norway, Scotland. Okay, we have already, we have more 15 seconds for this issue to move for the next one. We will achieve the 50 repliers. Okay, thank you very much. So can we go to the next one?
So where are you right now? Are you at the office, lab, at work, or in your apartment, in your castle? That's nice. In the bar or in the restaurant? On a train, on a plane, on a spaceship, or others? Interested to see there are quite balance between at office and at the apartment.
Yes. And it's very interesting in the apartment because the food safety, the most problems related, for example, with the toxin infections are in-house. So pay attention to the rules. Okay, we have a lot of people, 66. The majority, the people are in-house or in office. Okay, we don't have anyone in the bar, not.
Yeah, it's not the best place to focus, right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Safety.
Shall we go to the next question? We would like to know which your job category, what is your professional activity? Risk assessment from food safety authorities or official laboratories. We have also people from academia, a lot of people, it's the majority from academia. increase now the people from industry sector, and we are very well balanced with all stakeholders from the food safety. We have the risk assessment part, we have the risk management, we have the academia in the risk assessment also. We have also consumers. Nowadays, people are very interested and participative in these questions. And we have also from NGOs. Okay, we have a very good ranking to this votation. And now I think that we could go for the next question, just to understand if you are senior or junior, how long you have been working on the agro-food related topics with food safety. We have already 4 replies.
Oh, there's a very experienced people participating in this pre-forum.
Yes. That's why it's very good to have good experience, a lot of experience, and we must increase also the more, we must engage more young people to improve more co-creation, innovative co-creation, and creative. But we have already 66 voters. Okay. It's and the framework, the picture is the majority has more than 10 years of experience. Thank you very much. We go to another. We go deeper to have a more realistic framework about your opinion related to the sustainability, and we would like to use now the scale, Likert scale, to ranking, and we would like to order the scale from which is your agreement or not agreement, from no interest to full interest. So we would like that you rate your interest in the following topics about sustainable food safety. You have several issues related with responsible about the consumer, about the driver of technological innovation. Well, we are moving. This Mentimeter, it's quite genial to see the interaction of the people. Okay.
It's interesting to see how at the beginning started with the consumers are more ready to pay extra attention to make sure that their food has been produced respectfully, and now we see that they shift to the farmers' investment cost for more sustainable food production. That's really, really interesting.
Yes.
And even the last one, in 2021, we know enough about agricultural ecosystem to design objective quantitative criteria to evaluate and put a price on farmers' practices biodiversity impact. It's really interesting the way that all these topics are balanced. Don't you think, Felipe?
Yes, and this reveals that the sustainability food safety, it's a huge integrated problem that has different perspectives, and we may tackle with a very broad approach to tackle this and to get a better future. Okay, shall we go to now to the drivers for sustainable foods? And I think that we could remind the 6 points that Mr. Klock ordered. Mr. Klock talked about climate changes, changes in food and farming systems, rapid technologies, advanced and emerging technologies, assessment of new technologies, the current pandemic, and the integration and improving hazard and risk assess methodologies with the NAMs. Okay, so how much do you personally agree with the following sentences? Consumers are more and more ready to pay extra to make sure their food has been produced as respectful as possible for the planet. A more sustainable food production in the EU is only possible thanks to the technological innovation. Technological innovation would emerge even faster if EU regulations were less strict. And well, what happened here? We have
we lost the rotation for a second.
A lack of network. I don't know. And now we go to another question, to how much do you personally agree with the following sentences related with all these and what are we think to reduce its environment print, European animal farming needs more regulation. Okay, it's very interesting, this question, because normally the people thinking that the problem is a lot of regulation, and now the people are ranking that it needs more regulation. It's a very interesting issue to the Commission. The less voted is to reduce its environmental print. European animal farming needs to be progressively replaced by lab-coated animal production. Do you want to comment, Harry?
Yes, and I see that the most voted is that an all-encompassing eco-labeling on food packaging will help the consumer make more sustainable choices. That's really interesting. So yeah, indeed, the labeling is always on the table for food safety.
Okay, we have almost 40 replies. We achieved the 40, and I think that we could. It's really interesting because how long we have discussion and comments, the ranking is always moved. But we have now the first one as the most voted.
Well, the second one is also rating high. It's almost
yes.
The organic farming is also something that is very important for this audience.
Okay, shall we go to the next one? Well, now I think that we have a small space to address questions for the keynote speakers about the message, about insights, about inspirational ideas that they leave with us. If you want to put some question about the challenge, the future trends, about the regulation, about the research, about the plans to address the food sustainability, well, it is now the right moment to address these questions to the speakers. We have Stef Bronzwaer from EFSA, we have Sandra Coecke from Joint Research Center, and we have also Veronica Lattanzio, our great coordinator of this great project that is Food Safety for EU. And we hope to have more people engaged in this project. This is very challenging platform. We want to shape the new platform for the future, and we will get this if you are engaged with us, and if you going to the platform, you make your registration and work together to achieve better results together. Okay.
We see already some few questions. People is asking, why are you so full of energy, Filipa?
No, because this platform, it's very inspiring, because in Portugal, I can give my personal example through ASAI, the Food Safety Authority, Economic and Food Safety Authority from Portugal. We are really very motivated with this participation and with this issue about sustainability, because with this project, we already increase our relations, internal relations in Portugal with the different institutions from the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Economy, and the Ministry of Agriculture. So it is the real spirit of the One Health that inspire all of us. And this is very useful, because now we have a broad network, and we have a lot of benefits to belong this project. So if you think that is a positive energy, came with us and full this and booster these projects with more and more energy to achieve better results. Okay, to Dr. Notarfonso, who are the target users of the rapid? I lose the. Okay, thank you. To the rapid methods developed by the Seafood Project, Citizen for Auto Control, or Food Business Operators. Do you want to reply? I don't know very well how we will manage this. I think that the speakers will reply to the platform directly. I need some help with our colleagues from the.
Well, in the meantime, we can see that there are a few other questions. So they are asking about seafood, so the seafood project, but also there's another question on, I guess this is for more so for EFSA or for GRC. How Europe are dealing about fighting food waste concerning the impact on planet resources. Are regulation to be considered like the use of single plastic? So please, when you ask these questions, specify who is the person that you want to ask this question to, so that we can transfer this question to this person. While Filipa understands how we are going to address this question, I will continue to read. So there are also questions about the methodologies we find most relevant to measure the sustainability of food system. Also, a specific question for Dr. Suman. Can someone from the project go below?
So, Stef, if you want, can join us in this discussion and start answering some of the questions. So, here.
Okay, Stef. Thank you, Chiara.
Yes, hi, good morning. Thanks for questions, even if not really directly addressed to me, I think. The one maybe on the food waste. Yes, very important topic, because it's estimated that about 30%, 1/3 of the food in Europe actually goes wasted. So really very important vehicle to work on, target to address. To my knowledge, it's not so much about the legislation, it's more about action taken by the Commission. In fact, there are many programs in place on awareness raising. And now I see also another question coming up, okay, on awareness raising, which to tackle this. On the legislation, sorry, I am not, I think, in a position to work as in EFSA. We do the risk assessment, not the mitigation, not the measures, the risk management. Shall I try to say something on 2022, the year of the youth. Is education among young people a way to increase food safety awareness? How? From my side, yes, wholeheartedly, yes. How? I don't know. In the past, we have spoken with also our national food agencies, maybe if we can provide support also to academic curricula to include this in the education in master programs, bachelor programs. I know that in some countries, actually, they also do programs with schools, very active with schools. And certainly, the younger you start, the better it is. Again, it's not so much in EFSA's remit, this question, but we certainly would welcome it.
Thank you, Stef. Thank you very much. Okay. I don't know if Sandra is it's available to make yes. Okay. Thank you very much. The floor is yours. You have the question addressed to you.
Yeah. I indeed started with this topic of essential oils, and we use essential oils as consumers in our daily lives. Obviously, it's about this balancing and these choices. So when we start now to look at new types, for instance, of antimicrobials, we can embrace lots of the new technologies we have been developing. Chemical mixtures, when we do risk assessment, obviously managing chemical mixtures is quite more complex than doing single test items. So when we think about essential oils, these are very complex mixtures. What we also have been learning is that when we have external chemicals entering our bodies, that either they enter the feed chain or they enter directly the consumers, our liver is doing a great job of detoxifying most of the hazardous compounds, but obviously sometimes that goes wrong. So it's all about the dose. We know that, everything can be toxic if we exaggerate. So I think we just need to use our pragmatism and our new toolbox to see also how all these alternatives now and new uses in farming systems and food systems need to be managed. And I think our colleagues at EFSA already years anticipating that. I have been showing already what kind of documents are already out for years. So we feel quite comfortable how to do that with let's say, with the force we have in the European Commission and in our agencies. But obviously, we need to do some additional foresight on the essential oils because they seem to be used in so many new applications. So that's something to be alerted on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think exactly the most important step. What is the most important hazard in food or feed for EFSA?
Do you have any easier question than this, Felipe?
Okay. I could put some introduction because with the transparency regulation that updates the general food law adds this issue with very accuracy because the consumers after the refit exercise show us and after the Eurobarometer organized by EFSA, we have with the notion that the citizens, the consumers, need more effective communication. And one of the crucial issues is to clarify what is the difference between hazard and risk. And I could tell you that in this Food Safety EU project, in the food safety labs, we are already start this fantastic discussion. But now you have the easier task to explain what is the most important hazard for EFSA.
Yeah, indeed, not so straightforward, but Very pertinent, very important question, actually. Indeed, first, good to differentiate hazard from risk. Hazard is any agent or cause that can cause harm, but it's only when we are exposed to that possible hazard that it may bring a risk to us. An often used example is a shark in the sea. As long as you're not in the sea, you're not exposed to the shark, so there's no risk. That's a common referred to. What is the most important one? Again, you can discriminate between the public health burden, and there I think we know since many years that the biological hazards in general bring a high toll on human health. Estimates worldwide is 600,000 deaths a year. We don't have exact figures in the EU, to my knowledge, but we know it brings a very serious burden. Certainly also 1 in 10 people fall ill any given year with an infectious disease from a biological hazard. There we do active reporting, and we see that Salmonella and Campylobacter over the past decade are the most frequent pathogens actually causing this illness in human beings. But obviously for chemical, there's also a lot of concern about chemical hazards, which are monitored very closely, also by EFSA and other agencies. There, the difficulty is that you should discriminate from acute exposure risks, which are a bit more easy to quantify and which are generally very low, to the chronic exposure risk, which are much more difficult to quantify and to discern from other possible causes of harm. And it is thought, but it's difficult to prove that overall biological hazards have a higher impact on the human health burden than the chemical impact. But that's a difficult one. We don't have very solid data to go on. Then there's many other issues related to risk assessment, to risk perception, where in fact there you see big differences also from the countries. For example, people think possible risk coming from novel food, from genetically modified organisms. So there's a lot of possible influences on what makes us believe what are the most important hazards. So as EFSA, we are mandated to work on very many of them, and we do that by doing scientific assessments based on data, with very strong focus on transparency, because we believe that all what we do is in the public interest, also funded by the public, and therefore needs to become public. And all our outputs, in fact, are public, available also with the data that are underneath it, and the methodology used. Back to you, Philippa.
Okay, thank you very much, Stef. I don't know. I think I would like to have about you two. I think that it's a very interesting question. Do we already know how to measure sustainability? We start with the Brundtland report by the Prime Minister of the Sweden, and we have now the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that you mentioned. We have the achievements of the last COP26 in Glasgow. We have the Forum of the Global Social. How we will measure the achievement to the sustainability? What are your inputs about this?
Sandra first, or shall I?
Well, I must say, since obviously I'm a person that always has been deriving decisions based on solid data. So before we start to get a measure, we need obviously a concept behind it. And I think already in my introduction, I've been saying, first of all, we have to understand what we mean by sustainability. And I introduced with this inverted pyramid that we are trying, there is much around the word food sustainability. Security, safety, and sustainability are closely interlinked. So I think what now the reports are trying to do is definitely start to map, yeah, what are all, let's say, the weights in that balance. And as you know, in the GRC, we work a lot on reliable indicators. So once we have done this mapping well, yeah, then we can have the right indicators to really get almost a stamp on a sustainability score. But to say that in a nutshell, I think me and Stef, we're a little bit, you know, we don't say anything and we say everything. So I think this is definitely something we have to think about together, because it is always good when we want to make progress that we go towards some targets. Yeah. So how we measure these targets in a transparent way, but also understanding what we can promise and what we can't because of the uncertainty. You know, in risk assessment, we work with uncertainty. So, you know, it's not a black and white answer. It's always some type of fluidity. But important is that we understand what are the important, you know, aspect that we have to take into account and not forget some of them. I was thinking about there, obviously, the safety aspect. So, Stef, you can complement that.
No,
Thanks,
very good. I think there's at least 20 or so indicators often used to measure sustainability. And the challenge is that obviously if you think of greenhouse emission, water use, depletion, there's very many indicators, also social, economic indicators that you need to take into account. And that's a very good development, but a difficult one to have the answers to come with reproducible metrics that one can monitor over time. Because again, this goes back to the earlier discussion. If you change something in one part of the system, it will have implications for other parts. And that, I think the metrics will be an aid into monitoring that. One word of caution from my side is that, yes, it's good to go for metrics. Yes, it's good also probably to think of labeling in the future. However, what we've seen with labeling in the past, and there I think JRC did good work, is it's not so straightforward. It's not by putting a label on the package that you will avoid unsustainable use of food. And there, I think further research is needed on what are impactful labeling systems that are supported by robust metrics. Back to you.
Okay, just thank you very much for your inputs. But it's interesting that in this discussion for the sustainability, we see that the most people that are in this webinar are the people with more experience. And the great challenge, I think that it's also because we have a huge problem with the demographic evolution, and we must to engage the younger generation to embrace this, because the problem it's more impactful for the youngest generations than the oldest, because we go away and the next one stay with what we are providing for them. Okay, thank you very much. Erin.
So, do we have time to address any other question, Chiara?
Yeah, I think that we should ask Mr. Presser and Mr. Ricci to join us for answering just one question each. And then we probably need also to close and so leave the floor to the coordinator for summarizing the results. So I
this
leave
is for you, Karl Presser. So how to find the Expert Finder app? That's interesting.
Yes, thanks a lot for the question. There is a second question, which is, exactly the same. It also goes about. So thanks a lot for the interest. I take it as a Christmas gift that the community is very much interested in our Expert Finder app. So yeah, thanks a lot for this Christmas gift. Let me reply. So we are finalizing now the last pieces and bits in the app, and then we will announce it on the website. Also over the social media, we will announce where to find the expert finder. So stay tuned with us, check the website from time to time, and you will get a notification where you can find the link to the app. And then we invite you, of course, then to register as an expert there so that you also get listed into our app.
So basically, they have to check up the website and also to follow the Food-Safety4EU social media accounts. You will find more information about the tool very soon. So another question to Mark or Ricci. Ricci, sorry, are you working with support of any specific company for this innovator equipment?
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the question. Yes, actually, I completed my PhD funded by a company named FT System. And this is a company producing quality inspection devices and food and products. But actually, we're also working on the constitution of a spin-off from university. So it should be a development in the near future. So stay tuned with it, and I will update through our channels. So stay tuned with it. Thank you.
So I don't think, thank you. I don't think we have more time to more questions.
Yes, so I don't see further questions, so maybe we can thanks our speakers.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I leave you, Erin and Philippa, the floor to close this session.
Okay. So we could now perhaps take away the insights and what are the most interesting message to take away. The inputs for I don't know if we will go again to the Mentimeter, and we will ask you what are, with after this discussion and the participatory the participation with all the speakers, what are your interesting and we ask to you to rating the sustainable food safety issues, because we want to know which are the most interesting issues to put on 2022, the next forum. And now we open the votation for this topic.
So it seems like for now the first topic of interest is the circular food economy, isn't it? Now yeah. The voting is working. Okay, yes. Perfect.
We must to apologize you, because first of all, my English, it's completely like a mixture. It's a sustainability, a sustainable language. And I hope that you have patience and comprehension. And for me and Irene, this is a new approach to with this methodology in this forum. So perhaps we are not be on time to comment all the topics, because we see the screen all moving with our votation. But okay, now I think that we have the ranking with 22. Erin, we could wait a little bit more to have a more concrete rating to the topics. We have the circular food economy, that involves waste, recycling, and reuse, with several topics with the food packaging, the feeding all human safety.
Went down.
Yes. Now we have the sustainable diets and consumer health, related with nutritional, chemical, and microbiological risks. Climatic change and challenge for food production and safety. And the last ranking rated is the plant-based and cultured alternatives to animal food products. Shall we wait a little bit more, because this is very changing. It's changing with a lot of frequency, and but now I think that we have a certain.
Yeah, the first and second topics are clear. The ones that are. Yes. We need circular food economy and sustainable diets are by far the two first most important topics for our audience.
Yes.
Followed by, if it doesn't change, climate change and consumer insights and behaviors.
Okay.
So that's
yes, as Sandra Coecke has told us, it's a systematic trade-off between the food sustainability, the food security, and the food safety. So, and I think that we could stay with this screen. The first, the second, and the third, and the fourth are equal. But it's normal, because the circular food economy involves all the stakeholders and all the food chain. We know that the waste, we waste 30% in all the food chain. And sustainable diets, of course, that it's very important to consumer health. And of course, climate changes will increase the technology, the innovation in production to feed the almost 10 billions in 2015, in 7% in urban areas. So we must we must act. Okay, thank you, Chiara. We must move on.
So thank you very much. I think that this session was really successful. I saw a lot of participation and a lot of ideas. So the conference was really useful for all of us. And now I would like to Veronica to join us, because we need her to close and to sum up all the intro that we had this morning through the speech, and so to all the speakers here this morning. So Veronica.
Yes, thank you, Chiara. I will not take too much time, since we are closing perfectly in time, which is very good. Just happy to say, personal opinion, that the most ranked topic was on circular economy, since Food Safety for You as a strong group that is hardly working on circularly related food safety issues. So I will say that we are in line with what the audience is expecting also from us, from this community. So very happy to see the result of the ranking. Let me say you that probably we already have the topic for the next forum, but we will further elaborate on the result of Mentimeter, and you will find some update, probably a short article with some input for further discussion on our website. So stay tuned. All the presentation provided the consensus by the speaker will be recirculated and put on our website. So please have a look time to time to check for update. And okay, just time to thank you, everybody. First of all the audience, because we are very happy to see that, okay, Maurizio is here with me. Yeah, very happy to see that all people stay really until the end. So really thank you for staying, voting on Mentimeter, interacting, and so on. Just let me thank once again the wonderful speaker that we have today, Stef Bronzwaer from EFSA and Sandra from Untitled JRC. Thank you very much, Filippo and Erin, for your great moderation of this Mentimeter session. Of course, thank you to all the upper team, Chiara, Serena Karen, Emanuela Danelli, that you didn't see, but she was behind the scene and organized this perfect, I would say, technical meeting. Let me also thank Matteo Sabini, formerly from APRE and now in UFIC, because it was with us in the designing the first step of this workshop. Also, thank you to Frederick Bayer, which is our U4A fellow that arranged and drafted all the questions on Mentimeter, which were wonderful, in my opinion. Thank you, Nunzia, and Dr. Logrieco, that unfortunately was not able to stay with us until the end. I don't know if I forgot someone else.
Great experience, and follow us on our social media, but also we will send you an update by email, because unfortunately not all the registered people, more than 300, followed us today, but it's important that this video will be also streamed and shared throughout our channels. So it's a very, very nice and fruitful experience today. Thank you all for all the input we gathered today.
Okay, thank you to you, Veronica and Nunzia.
Thank you, thank you. So I
Thank
think,
you very much.
Thank you. I think we can close the meeting. Chiara, last few words to you, and have a nice day. Enjoy your Christmas break.
Thank you to all the participants, and the conference is registered, so it was recorded, and you can find on the social media, on our website, and so anybody can follow the conference at any time. So follow EU for safety. Okay, thank you. So happy winter holidays. And thank you again. Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.